Thank you for coming back, and we're now going to do what I thought we were going to do before our break, which was the public hearing on the Cold War Veterans Tax Exemption. So, Mr. Bartel.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Just some history on the veterans exemption. There is currently an existing exemption for veterans who were parts of certain wars, such as World War II, I, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Persian Gulf War. Right now, there are 484 of those residents in Rockville Center that are eligible for various levels of exemptions for their taxes. We now have a new exemption for Cold War veterans. That's for veterans from 1945 through 1991 who were not part of those other conflicts. We have 33 eligible residents that would qualify for that exemption. And I think we have the exact same exemptions for those as we did for the other veterans. So that's what's on for resolution.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have any comments as it pertains to the resolution itself?
So this would just be matching what we've done in the past. What 2 years ago we gave?
Yes, 2 years ago.
We granted the exemptions for everybody else.
Yes.
And this is something the State Department added.
State Department has added this, and it gives each local school district the option of granting it to its residents, but the board has to pass a resolution to do so.
And this is
New York State.
New York State,
Yes.
right. Oh, I'm sorry, when I said the State Department.
Yes,
I'm
these
sorry.
days you don't know what you're...
I apologize. And this is matching what we did in the past.
This matches exactly what we did in the past.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions from the board?
The correspondence that we received was in favor of us passing this, or asking us to?
It really didn't specify, it just said that it was up to the school district. Didn't specify whether we should or shouldn't.
Right, as to whether...
Correspondence from community.
The correspondence.
Oh, from the community, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the correspondence from the community is asking us to implement this resolution.
Are there any members of the audience who would like to speak on this resolution? Please come to the microphone. Seeing none. We can take care of this now, Jackie? Okay, can I have a motion approving the resolution as it is contained in our agenda?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. Now we can move on to items for information. Student report cards.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. For those of you who are in the elementary buildings and certainly in the secondary as well, you know that the report cards that we have been providing to our families have become electronic in nature. So I've asked Mr. Pelletier just bring us up to date on progress that we're making. This is kind of a new venture over the past 2 years. So if you would, please.
Certainly, Dr. Johnson, thank you. Yes, just very briefly, elementary report cards K-5 went out last week online on the parent portal. This is the second year that we're doing that, attempt to go green and to save a few dollars in terms of printing and sending home report cards. We have decided to put them online. Again, it's our second year doing that. Parents do have to sign up for the parent portal. If they have an older child, we have directions for that. Someone who's already registered, if it's a high school student or a middle school student, if it's someone new to the district, they automatically get a letter when they first register with us, or a letter follows up advising them how to sign in and log in and create an account. So all our report cards, our NWA reports, our student test results, things like that will now be, again, pushed towards that online portal as opposed to printing and backpacking and sending everything home. So that happened this past month with middle school, high school, and most recently with the elementary buildings. And we're going to continue to do that going forward. If anybody has issues, concerns, questions, they should certainly speak to their schools, principals, or teachers. And of course, if people don't have the ability to print the report card or get online, we can print still and send home by request. That's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you. Any board members have any questions on student report cards?
First, I want to thank you, because I know this is something I've been asking about for a couple of years. Do we have an ability to find out if people have actually looked at the report cards?
We do, and we can go back, and so we give people time, and yes, that's the type of information I would share with Mr. Murphy, for example, give him access so that he could see back, and we can contact families who, if we felt a need.
And are principals doing that? Will they be following up and getting reports that report cards
Right.
aren't sort of being looked at, and maybe,
Right.
maybe somebody doesn't want to, know,
I'm sorry.
somebody needs sort of the push to say, if you're not looking at the report card, we'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's something we can certainly do as a reminder that we have that ability now that we just did it again for the first time this year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You have the ability to tell whether I viewed my child's
Whether or
report
not you
card,
like,
or you have the ability to see whether somebody viewed the report card?
probably better said that way. I can't see you opening it or anything like that.
Because that would be.
I just want to make sure I'm not going to get in trouble for not viewing it,
Well, Mr. Murphy is here, and you may be called to the principal's office.
Okay.
But yeah, no, obviously, if someone had your child or wife or someone had your account and could get in there and view it, they would see it, as I can't tell necessarily that you specifically have seen it.
Thank you.
We send out notifications on the app also, so parents know it's coming and know when to look for it.
We do that, and Lauren Billig, who's here tonight, actually does the push notification on the app, and we sent an email to every K-5 parent. I think we did it at the high school and middle school as well.
So nowhere along the line there's a mechanism for, like, I saw the report card and I acknowledge anything like that?
We don't have acknowledged receipt or anything like that presently.
Is that something, I don't know if that's something that anybody feels is worthwhile at the school level, at the principal level?
Yeah, getting all that back from,
Oh, wait.
3,500, like individually, a smaller building, it'd be a lot to manage, but it's something certainly we could look
typically,
at. What's important is that we know that people are going in and seeing it.
Well, typically you would have a report card signed and brought back to school in years past. Is that just at the elementary level?
Yeah, I don't think we do that at the
Right.
high school.
Will the elementary teachers have them available for the families at their conferences?
I try to dissuade folks from printing all of them because that would defeat.
it goes against-
If necessary, yes.
Could you, I'd be interested if it would be beneficial for an elementary principal to have some kind of, reply back,
I'll look into it.
if it's possible, if it's something they want or benefit from?
But I think that's the first question we ask is,
Right.
is this something that the principals want? Or is
Yeah.
it just?
They sit-
Because I would think that, back to Greg's question, our students might be pulling them up themselves, but in elementary school, probably not. Like our high school students might be, but I don't think our elementary students really are pulling up their own power schools.
Okay.
Some of them might be.
Some might.
Fifth
yeah.
Some might.
Fifth graders certainly could
Do
be.
you think they
Do you think fifth graders
really
are?
care that much?
I know we have some talented
I
young
mean-
people here tonight who could
Oh.
probably do that, but
It's just that, but the people here tonight,
are from the high school.
they want to know what their grades are.
Sure,
Fifth graders get satisfactory, right? They don't really get
Yeah,
grades. Right,
I
so
would
don't
encourage
know.
them to know
Yeah.
their grades and go in
Yeah.
and see them. Yeah, youngsters. Yeah, students.
But they're also not pulling up their report cards, at least they weren't when they're pulling up power schools and just looking at their grades.
Do you guys
right?
look at your grades at all on Power School? I think that's great. That they look at their grades and are accountable for them and know what's in there.
Yeah, but
Right.
now ask, are they using their mom or dad's password?
We're not going to get too specific in
Don't answer.
I will look into what we could do. They are hosted at I don't know if necessarily we can get return receipt, but I'll find out.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, moving on to fifth grade iPad distribution.
Earlier this year, we made a decision to amend the way in which we distributed iPads in fifth grade. As many of you may know, we have 2 points of distribution in the school district for iPads. One is in 5th grade. Our turnaround time is approximately 4 years, so kids who get it in 5th grade then turn it in at the end of 8th and get a new one in 9th grade. Our 9th graders get it in 9th grade and finish in 12th. So there's this 4-year cycle. Up until this year, we had always had 5th grade students keep their iPads in the elementary buildings. And earlier this year, we had a discussion with the principals, and then we felt it would be a valuable thing to have the kids, at least sometime during the year, be provided the opportunity to have it go home with them. So in fact, we made that decision earlier, and we told the board we were going to bring them up to date on it. And so, Mr. Pelletieri, this is your night. Here we go again.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind, please
Sure.
talk about what progress we've made on that.
Yes, earlier this year, as Dr. Johnson stated, our 5th grade teachers and our principals came to us and said, we really are concerned about our youngsters, making sure that we have the continuity at home as we have in school in terms of reading, mathematics instruction, access to computers and technology, and as a way to kind of shrink that digital divide, making sure that students had access to the iPads that we had in class, allowing them to bring them home as well. We spoke with students, we spoke with parents, we spoke with teachers and principals, and again, the Board of Education, and talked about allowing our 5th graders at some point during this year to bring them home. We are ready to do that. These will not be the same types of students in 5th grade will not have the same type of access as high school or middle school students. These are very much locked down insofar as students will not be able to add their own apps, be able to add music or things of that nature. Games will not be on these iPads. Parents were pretty insistent on that. They have a lot of devices for those types of things already. So we agreed that we would lock these down as best we could. The AirWatch filters that are here in the district will go home with the students as well. So if they go online, they'll still have to come back through our servers and have those same protections that we have here in the district. We worked with our principals just this week. I have a little prop here, which when students and parents go to visit the 5th grade schools, they'll get a baggie such as this. In it are the charger, the cable that helps them to charge, that you need to charge the iPad, and our iPad user agreement paperwork. Students will get their iPads with the parents, and they'll have to sign the iPad user agreement, of course. Those come back with us, a copy can go home with parents, and we will make sure that, again, there are lessons being taught in the elementary buildings around cyberbullying and those types of concerns. That's something that's ongoing anyway, but we will double our efforts there to make sure that our youngsters recognize that these are tools of the district and to be used for educational purposes. And that's going to start happening in the next days and weeks. Each school is running their own distribution as they see fit and as their days and weeks are managed in front of them in terms of their calendars and events and things such as that.
Question I have is maintenance and updating. How is that going to be handled on these iPads as well as others that we have out with our students?
Well, when it's become much more streamlined, we really don't have to put our hands on the iPads anymore. We can do it through our management system, any type of updates that needs to be there. We have established a school app catalog, so if we want students to have an app, we can put it in the catalog. The students just have to download it once we put it in the catalog. So as far as maintenance, there isn't much that we need to do now. We've learned that over the past couple of years in our experiences with our older students and the iPads.
What about an operating system update?
Yeah,
that Apple puts out occasionally.
That should be something that's done automatically. They would push on the update just like they would on any other device, and you'd want it to be charged. We will keep carts in classrooms so that they can still charge during the day. We've also made it very clear to parents that if there's 2 iPads at home or other devices and things like that, and parents don't want these iPads coming home, or they feel that their youngster just is not ready for this type of responsibility, those iPads can still stay in the building in those carts, and they would just need access perhaps to some, there won't be any specific, like you have to use your iPad homework. If 6 or 7 students are keeping their iPads back in the classroom overnight and not bringing them home.
Will we distribute in fifth grade, take back at the end of fifth grade, and then redistribute in sixth grade?
The idea is not to do that, but once students get them, they would, and that's part of the email, that an email did go out to parents advising them of this, again, fifth grade parents. So the idea would be, these are the iPads they would have gotten in sixth grade anyway. So they would just hold on to them to the summer. We encourage them to use apps such as Lightsail, which we learned about, which are online, Lexile-leveled libraries for our students, so they could do some summer reading, things like that. So the plan would be that they would stay with those students through eighth grade, as Dr. Johnson mentioned, yes.
And Chris, the elementary school teacher is going to have a recommended reading for the summer on the iPad?
We always do have recommended readings for the elementary schools. We work with the public library.
I mean, with the iPad, are they going to have...
Well, what's interesting about that, again, that Lightsail app that we use, students have their own leveled libraries in there, so anything in that library would be recommended reading.
And the packet that they received, the Ziploc bag, does it include the instructions on how to get optional insurance in case the iPad is broken or falls down a flight of stairs or I don't know, just
The
mysteriously?
dog ate the homework.
Yeah. The dog ate the iPad,
I hope not. One of the things that we did was, and again, this was included in an email to the fifth grade parents, we created iPad pages, web pages on all of our schools now. So we had one at the middle school, an iPad page. We had one at the high school. There's now one on every single elementary building. Those went live today. So there's a fifth grade iPad app, not app, but button on every page. And parents are directed there, and in there are all our FAQs, the apps that are on the iPads, and the information about how they can insure iPads if they wish to.
Can we put something in the Ziploc bag indicating that that option is there for them? Rather than, it's this way when you hand them the package, they have all their information.
Just a notice saying, go
That's
to
paper.
this.
Paper. That's paper.
Well, you have paper in there already.
Do a half a page of paper. Because my concern is that a parent might think, okay, the school's giving me like a textbook. If I lose it or break it, what's the difference? They really need to know that they are responsible for the iPad.
Aren't they attending a meeting at a distribution time?
Different
So
school.
that information is relayed to them during that time?
Without a doubt, I know our teachers intend, and Stellars or whoever involved in it, intend to have that conversation with them. We can certainly work with our technology department prepares these, or the schools in terms of a half page, a reminder or something like that we could put in there. But it's certainly part of the conversation they have, and clearly part of the email that went out to everyone about, while not mandated, it's certainly something that's recommended, and we do have 2 companies that we work with, and again, those are on that site that we created.
Now, my home rules about electronic devices not being in, the bedroom or anywhere else in my house still applies and doesn't exempt the child from having to do his homework in his room with the iPad.
I think that's a great rule. My son is a 7th grader. He has an iPad given him by school. It doesn't get charged. It gets charged in the kitchen, and he does his work at the table in the dining room, and that's the rule. And so, yeah, I would hope that parents recognize that they can tell their youngsters, this does not go in the room, this does not get used for anything other than schoolwork, and we're going to use it right here in this place, this area of the house, that type of thing.
Thank you.
In our earlier conversations with, when we started giving iPads to middle school students, we wanted the students to own the iPads, to make it theirs. And we encouraged them to download music and their own apps. At what point does this iPad become open? And how is that going to work?
That's certainly a conversation we need to have going forward, because I've gotten feedback from Ms. McGinn and Mr. Murphy at the high school around distractions with the iPad. And so the original concern was that, and we learned from, I think it was Los Angeles, that gave out iPads that were really locked down, and these kids jailbroke. Is that the term? What term do I use? Jailbroke? As they all nod at me. The kids jailbroke, and really, they ended up collecting them all back because they were breaking firewalls. They were able. So we didn't want to go in that direction. But I am hearing concern from teachers and from administrators at both buildings that there are issues around distractions with games and things such as that. So it's a conversation we have to have going forward as to how much we might loosen that up.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. Moving on to STEAM at the high school.
Thank you again. And this is going to be a Mr. Pelletieri
I'm
and
going to need
Mr.
some water
Murphy
here.
conversation.
Got it, okay.
So the conversation about STEAM and about the progress that we're making with regard to the implementation of technology in our school district has been ongoing. Certainly, we had numerous conversations last year. We had indicated to the board that we were going to bring you up to date on some of the ideas that are being discussed and floated at this time this year for possible consideration in the budget for the next and upcoming school years. It was very clear to us, as a matter of fact, as you can see from the attendance of some of our high school students tonight, that robotics is on a lot of people's minds, is something that we knew was going to be very actively discussed when the students who were very actively participating in it as middle school students arrived here at Southside High School, and was going to have clearly an impact on what it was we were going to do as a school and as a school system, as well as what some of the priorities are that we would like to look into. The two focal points that we have kind of made is that mine or?
I think it's you. Yeah.
Speaking of distraction, but it's not a game. So we are looking at the overall curriculum offerings that we have here at Southside High School. We have been examining very carefully what it is that we offer right now, recognizing that the world of higher education may in fact be changing some of its priorities and be looking for certain skills among graduating students, and then asking ourselves what is it that we can add to what for many kids appears as a very crowded curriculum already, without in fact creating an overabundance of requirements on students before in fact they.
I'm green.
Green is on, that's why red is mute.
Get out of this.
We need some technology kids.
I need to embrace it, is what I need to do. That's right. I'll hold it instead of putting it in the stand. It may have just been rattling. So the whole point is that we've had this ongoing discussion about the ways in which we can, at the very least, integrate as units of study in a variety of different ways in already standing curriculum and in electives that we have here core curriculum and electives that we have here at Southside. And in addition, possibly considering introducing one or more new courses that are related to either robotics or, in fact, coding. And what I'd like to do is to kind of turn this over to Mr. Pelletieri and Mr. Murphy, not necessarily to make a presentation, but just to kind of talk about some of the ideas that we've been contemplating and considering as various alternatives that we may want to include in our discussions as we move forward through this year and certainly into the upcoming budget discussions. So, Mr. Pelletieri, you may want to start, and then I'm not sure with Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I met with a group of passionate and very well-informed parents a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago, in regards to something that, yes, is an issue that we have really brought upon ourselves. We have built a very successful technology program in our middle school. with our partners here in the community, the Board of Education, the Rockville Center Education Foundation, which helped fund STEAM labs and 3D printers and really neat technology programs, robotics clubs and kits at our middle school. Again, a wonderful partnership. We have some outstanding teachers there at our middle school, our technology teachers. Mr. Bacham and Mr. Lamana, our school leadership there, really has embraced robotics, coding, STEAM, tech, Dr. Zuar as well. So we saw this a year or so ago coming down the pike, so to speak, that, okay, great, we built this in our middle school, but what are we going to do for our students when they get to the high school? And I had parents whispering that to me a year or so ago as well, and then again met with a group of parents the other day. I've had conversations with Mr. Murphy and Dr. Johnson. I know John will speak a bit to it. We've looked at areas where we did start a coding club last year. We did start robotics club last year. We talked about areas where within our curriculum currently, we might be able to embed some of those ideas and some of those practices around design, engineering, coding into classes that currently exist. Obviously, there's concerns around where you add something in a tax cap era. You can't just add something because what's going away to add that? So there are issues around that and implications with that. But John has very thoughtfully worked with members of our community. I know he's done some great outreach with Hofstra University. He has some ideas around how they might provide us with some professional development for our staff and our teachers. We've talked about training our own teachers as we move forward in trying to build upon what we have here in the high school insofar as STEAM and technology. We had a wonderful grant from our Rockville Center Education Foundation, over $75,000 over 3 years to provide us with a Z-Space lab we have up on the second floor here. Very proud of that. And that is a 3D virtual reality type of lab that our students and all of our teachers are can be trained on to utilize. So we have pieces, but we obviously want to grow more and do more. John, maybe you could fill in a little better than what I just detailed somewhat.
There seems to be three. My mic doesn't work at all. Okay,
there we go.
There seems to be three major prongs at work here. And they're all interrelated, so I don't want to oversimplify it. There's the robotics team and the club, and that burgeoning need to really bolster and support their work. No? Their work.
We got the TV.
Okay, their work moving forward. And any progress that they have made, in large part due to their passion and commitment, is a double-edged sword in that it speaks to their commitment and their need and the progress that we've made in a very limited time, but it also speaks more directly into the need to further support because they're going to outgrow our existing system and grow faster than we are. The 25 students who have been involved so far in the robotics program, and it did enjoy a sluggish start, are starting to gain steam, especially in the last 2 weeks. Guys, are you going to a VEX, is it a VEX competition that you guys are going to in January? Is that what it is, Starstruck? Because there's a series of different robotics competitions that you can go to, and these are more regional in nature. And as of the last few weeks, the meeting times have become more frequent, and there's 25 of them who are going to compete. There seems to be this ingoing underclassmen, upperclassmen competition going on now, which I guess is healthy if you look at it that way. On January 8th and February 11th, that's kind of focusing their efforts. While that's great, it speaks to two things. The fact that they are making progress in large part due to their passion, to the advisors of Mr. Frampton, Mr. Beinlich, and the help of the middle school in terms of supplying us with resources. But we're all readily admitting that that's an ongoing process that needs further support. The way that will manifest is an ongoing conversation that we'll have. The second prong, which is not unrelated but different, is the growth in coding. In my day, it was called computer science or computer programming. But coding is embedded into a lot of what you guys are doing, but it's more than that. And we've been exploring any number of options that are all equally on the table right now in terms of doing two things. Number one, embedding it into existing coursework. But number two, seeing if there are any other courses that we can offer that give students the opportunity to experience that. it's very hard to predict a vocation or a course that is going to require coding. You immediately gravitate towards those in the engineering track or those in the very strong science programs, which is fine. But there's also a very large need assessment in the arts or in the design fields for things like app design. Coding is not just a broad statement. So we've explored things, this threefold in terms of the development of coding. One is to look into embedded coursework where facets of coding can be imbued into the existing coursework. Looking at things as simple as looking at a formula table in Excel and learning how to calculate formulas in Excel and convert them into charts is a form of coding, because it teaches students algorithmic logic. There's a sequence of events, conditional and Boolean, that you teach the computer, if this and this happens, then I want you to put this in this box. There's also, well, Boolean is just yes or no logic. It's either a 0 or a 1. But if you do that through an Excel sheet, you're learning the train of thought that's required for coding, so that irrespective of the language that you learn further on, that skill set is transferable. That can be done in simple lab practical work in the early years in grade 9 and 10, but that's not enough in order to really start to give students the opportunity to learn coding. The problem that we ran into in the past is that as soon as we wheel out a course in coding and teach the language, that language becomes extinct. Remember Pascal and BASIC, even Fortran, right?
We'll go Fortran.
So the second prong is professional development, and let's talk about the elephant in the room. Anyone who's not wearing a robotics t-shirt right now feels uncomfortable talking to teenagers about coding because they probably know more than you do. And the growth curve for the adults is significant. So we've reached out to several different avenues, not the least of which is Hofstra University that started over the summer through, and in terms of promotion, I'd like to thank two community members, both Philip Roncaccio and Mr. Stavro Valente, who works at Hofstra University, for working with me and the administration to looking at avenues. There's an ongoing conversation with Hofstra through their director of the engineering co-op and their computer science chair, and developing a relationship with Southside High School whereby they can train our staff in computer coding modules for introductory computer coding. The goal of which is several. One of which is to give teachers the facility to develop mini lessons on their own. The second of which is develop an elective course in coding that, again, is in its developmental stages. Next week, towards the end of the month, a group of 70, approximately 70 Southside students will travel to Hofstra University to begin that partnership in terms of their science offerings and what it means to be a scientist, in terms of their exploring their labs, looking at some of the works in the various disciplines. That will be supplemented in January with a robotics-specific visit. We just felt that science research and science holistically doesn't deal specifically with the needs of some students who need robotics. So the hope is that that partnership will foster, and we can use that as our professional development prong in the hopes of offering professional development to our staff, and then maybe doing something over the summer with our students. Those two prongs then culminate in a general sense on what type of design technology / inquiry-based engineering courses or coursework we have. The need for it, and this is not, I don't want to paint it, I was doing well there for a while. I don't want to paint too dark a picture as testament to the fact that 20 to 30 students on average graduate Southside High School declaring a major of engineering or an engineering type of major. And that's a very broad statement. We're doing something right, and I don't want to compromise those that we're doing right, both in the arts, our physics classes, and our very well-established mathematics courses that do prepare students well for that vocation, but we're also admitting to the fact that there's a need for those other components, like coding, like those provided in robotics, that we can enrich. And we are exploring other course options. For instance, the outdoor structures class, which is soon to be renamed wood design, because it hasn't happened outdoor in 15 years. is a place and space that we just expanded the number of sections that it's offered this year for the first time. Now that deals with a very specific group of students, and they've found their niche in what used to be called woodshop in a more sophisticated setting, and I don't want to take that away from the kids. But it is also a place and space with a teacher who is very versed in this, that we can expand the offering so that the students learn design technology that extends within wood, but also beyond it. There's a machine called a CNC machine in the back that's it's computer numerical lathe, where the students can either, through a series of computer programs or on their own, code the machine to create etchings in wood and to create their own designs, whether it's a poster or a plaque. That's ripe for the taking for students who are gravitating toward a coding or computer engineering track. That course we're looking to expand in any number of ways. It could be expanding the units of study where the students can explore other avenues, or creating another section of a course called IB Design Technology, which is a more formal course specifically designed for the things that a student normally gravitating toward engineering. It looks at a design cycle, and it's a practical base. It's looked at as an experimental science where students are in the design model. 40% of the class is based on practical work where students design things. They're given a scenario. For instance, you have design a toy for an autistic child ages 6 through 8 who has these learning capabilities, given these parameters and this budget, and the student is set aside to create that. I mean, it's problem-based inquiry and working out problems, as well as content. So there are tests, multiple choice as well as fact-based. That's a lot of options, but I guess I could have synopsized it by saying this is not about a thing that we're going to do. It's got to be a series of things that we'll explore, both in terms of the feasibility and the financial consequences of it, to give students not one offer, but multiple offers. I could have gone on, but there's also another series of courses that we're going to look to imbue more technology.
Steal that back. So I think a lot of conversation obviously is taking place. We have to be thoughtful about our next steps, but we know we have next steps to undertake. I think we have partners and a community that, parents who are partners, and a community that wants to see us move and hopes we'll move in this direction. I know we're working to do that and have those conversations. Again, we need to be thoughtful about those conversations, and we do have budget meetings coming up in the next month or so, and that will be part of those conversations.
Okay. Is anybody, any board members have any questions or things they'd like to add?
I have a big concern. I brought it up last year at budget time, and I know it seems like you're almost pitting robotics against the woodworking shop. It seems like that's what you're offering. Let's take away from that so that can take place. And as much as the woodworking shop is old world, old school, I think it's such a very important piece of education here. It may be the only time in your children's life where they actually can build something or make something out of wood. And I'd like to caution you not to take that as your only avenue to fit robotics into a schedule.
One of the pieces is that particular machine, I know we can embed some aspects of coding into that, but we wouldn't take away woodworking or wood shop and turn it into anything more than it is now. There might be a piece.
The conversation is going that way, so I'm just concerned about that.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, at this point, I'd like to open up questions to first, do any of the students want to come to the microphone and ask any questions or say anything? If you can come up here, please just give us your name.
I'm Christopher Barker.
And speak into the microphone, please, so everybody on tape can hear you.
TV can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Barker, and I'm currently in ninth grade at Southside High School. I was one of the team members that participated in the very successful Southside Middle School robotics program last year and attended the VEX Worlds competition. The technology classes and robotics programs offered at the middle school have given me the drive to continue to learn more about this field. I enjoy programming and design technologies all around us in our everyday lives. Unfortunately, myself and some of my friends have experienced some disappointments and feel left behind in the initial high school robotics club and limited class offerings of technology and engineering in our high school. In response to a letter written by some of our parents, Mr. Pelletieri visited the robotics club this past Thursday, and on that day we learned that the club would be meeting twice a week. I have also heard that parts or kits will be purchased to eliminate lack of supplies. Thank you for your prompt action in helping the club overcome some basic operational needs, and I hope this continues and look forward for the robotics competitions. Dr. Johnson, you and I have met before in episode 2002 of Southside Middle School Robotics Exploring Our Schools. During the episode, we discussed how tools and products have changed and how important it is to keep up with the evolution of technology within education. I'm asking for your help with the board members to consider offering technology and engineering curriculum. As you know, I have to choose classes during the next few weeks of the coming year. My technology options are very few, and I hope that somehow a change can occur promptly to give students, such as myself, the ability to control learning and to grow in STEM.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When do, just come on up, but just one moment. Class offerings for, decisions for next year, when are those made?
They're ongoing.
They're ongoing currently?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, go right ahead.
You can,
Lower it down.
Just tilt it, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Varley, and I am a 7th grader at Southside Middle School. I am here this evening to talk about the robotics program at the middle school. We are currently working on building a robot that will be able to pick up balls and put them into a tower. The robots will also need to travel up and over a ramp. This is very difficult because you need to determine the exact amount of pressure needed to push down on the ramp, which will enable the robot to go over. Soon, we will begin programming our robots to move without a controller. I really enjoy working on these complicated machines with the members of my group. It is very interesting and fun to learn how to make VEX IQ parts into robots. I enjoy solving the problems that we encounter, and it is exciting when we successfully accomplish the task. Our first competition is on December 15th in East Northport. If you would like to see us in action, I am determined to have my robot work properly by then. Thank you for your time.
Well, I certainly hope it does. Thank you. Any other students care to say something? Come on up. No? Okay. Oh, we have. Okay, now we'll open it up to parents.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Beth Reynolds. I was told I need to state my address.
Please.
For Richmond Road. Thank you so much for acknowledging the staff and teachers who've been with us for so long and have given their lives to support our community. So thank you for acknowledging that. You're really, really great. I'm here tonight on behalf of the robotics team. And this morning I read the Washington Post article about the School of Opportunity, that we were acknowledged as a School of Opportunity. So it was really powerful, and I think everybody in this room really should be proud of that. Apparently, 3 of the 6 criteria in which we were examined to qualify for that recognition. So apparently there's many things that we're doing well. So thank you for that. One of those was that apparently as a School of Opportunity that we really support our teachers as professionals. And I really want to underscore that. My husband's an educator, and in our household we love and respect educators. To that point, part of our initiative in supporting the robotics is to make sure that the program is funded properly as a varsity team and not necessarily as a club. And as we walk through the School of Heroes from the past, these are our future heroes sitting right here. And in the future, the vision might be of seeing the robotics team up on the wall. Really, that they're really producing some fantastic work. But to the point of making sure that our professionals are being supported here, we want to make sure that they're being compensated as well. The varsity team takes significant amount of time and energy, the robotics team, just like a varsity sport. So these kids are competing, and in order to make them to be competitive with their peers, they're working nights, weekends, long hours. So they're spending a significant amount of time, just like the varsity basketball and football teams, just for example. So we want to make sure that those teachers are paid, and looking under the hood while we're researching tonight and making sure that the team is funded properly, that we're being advocates, that we're organized as parents, and we're really doing this methodically to making sure that we're gaining momentum and really creating some change. Is we noticed that the teachers at the middle school who are really they've created this pipeline of these kids and created this really academically challenging where they reach the world competition. Those teachers were paid minimal. Pennies, probably. It's embarrassing. And I didn't realize this until recently when I looked through the public record. So I want to make sure that the teachers are paid appropriately, the team is funded as a varsity sport, and thirdly, which you acknowledged, Mr. Murphy, which is making sure that we're looking at curriculum that is expansive, and to John's point about not cannibalizing the woodworking program. It seems that in our STEAM or STEM environment that the science, math, and art is really well represented and funded. And just like we don't expect our children who we offer music and art to become professional musicians and artists, we offer them that experience. Our request is that we offer an experience, an academic experience, an activity experience in which they can try it out. And to your point, way to go. Way to have 30 kids acknowledge or declare engineering as a major. And there is some Project Lead the Way data that you're 80% more likely to remain an engineering major if you take one Project Lead the Way course in high school. So many of those kids, I don't know the exact number, but it's over 50% drop out because they don't realize that the engineering major is so heavily focused on math. Congratulations, awesome work. I mean, it really has been powerful. We've obviously been doing a lot of things right. And so what we have right here is a good problem. This is a really good problem to have. We've got smart, interested, motivated, competitive, awesome kids, boys and girls, that really want to learn. So I know there'll be difficult decisions to be made, that if we're adding an elective, we might lose an elective, but that's why we're here to lobby, and we're here to support the fact that we really need to make some changes to support our children. Go team.
Thank you very much.
I'm Kathy Baxley, 7 Hawk Lane, and I wrote a whole thing saying what I wanted to say, but you covered all of it. I was part of the parent team that met with Mr. Pelletieri. We presented our thoughts, our ideas, our concerns, and I really appreciate that you and Mr. Murphy addressed them, that you talked about it, that you're thinking about it. My son is part of the robotics team. He went to Kentucky. It's an incredible program for them. We just want to make it bigger, better, especially on the high school level. So we appreciate any support, anything that you can do for them, technology-wise, engineering, coding, and we just look forward to hearing more, and we'll come to the meetings and hope you guys have more info for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name's Barbara Barker, 186 Linden Street. A lot's been said, and I agree with all of it, and I don't want to repeat it, but the parents are behind you. As Dr. Zua mentioned before we went to Kentucky, the parents are interested in doing a booster club and helping support the children and the school. Looking forward to getting started. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, go right ahead. You have priority.
Hi, I'm Matt Baxley. When I started robotics in 6th grade, I was just a kid trying out a club just to see what it was like, and came with some of my friends, and we slowly brought more and more people. And over time, Mr. Bachman and Mr. Lamana influenced all of us to go enough where we did it every day, stayed till 5 o'clock every day, and had so much fun doing it, and we went to the world level. And here we come to the high school, and it's only 2 times a day, and not as much.
2 times a week.
That's only
It's okay.
2 times a week. And it's not, we don't get as much support as we got in the middle school. And it's still fun, but it's less of an incentive to do it because we have less materials to use, less people that are here. We lost some people coming from the middle of the high school because they thought it wasn't as fun, and I would just like to find ways, like classes that some students might take and say, hey, I might want to come to robotics after school today to see what it's like. And I just hope that you could add something like that to make that happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Debbie Pandolfo, 201 Linden Street. All this technology stuff is way beyond me. I'm not a science person, not a tech person. I can tell you my daughter, who's a junior, she's very interested in sciences. She asks me every year, why don't we have a coding class in the school? So it's something that she's interested in, yet I don't necessarily see her necessarily going into engineering. So I guess in terms of coding, I wouldn't want to, and I don't know how it works, so I don't know they would necessarily have to be totally geared towards an engineering focus, because I think you have science and math children and other career ventures that would, that you utilize coding, but not necessarily in an engineering. So that's the only thing I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to come forward?
Alan Barker, I live at 186 Linden Street. My son also was in the robotics competition. I went down to Kentucky not really thinking and not knowing what this was all going to be about. Your statement about the woodworking thing is really incorrect. There was a whole big display on how the robotics and the coding maintained and enhanced a lot of the woodworking. And in fact, Mr. LaMonica took back a whole bunch of that information so he could hopefully incorporate it into his classes home here. So perhaps you should have a discussion with him about it, and I think you could probably incorporate that into part of your woodworking.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Reynolds. I'm a resident at 4 Richmond Road. My speech ability has been stunted because I'm married to the woman over there who spoke before. We met in Mrs. Bowie's biology class upstairs. I used to pull her hair to get her attention. I was a former athlete, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I had the lead role in a High School Musical here in 1984. Did I mention that already?
What was
I played Little Abner. He was a simpleton with, scantily educated, big heart. It was a stretch for me, but I pulled it off. And I went into teaching because I was inspired by Mr. Dan Narciso and Mr. Scuderi, for those of you who have been around for a while. And I've had 5 of my students going on to become technology teachers. I've had 2 students who I think went into teaching in spite of me, Mr. Russo over there, in spite of me, and I think Dr. Wood is somewhere around here, not because of me though. Old world, old school, you mentioned that. I went into teaching because of those 2 gentlemen. So it's, those kids show up in woodshop, they love the class. We're still using all that technology today. Every woodshop in the world has CNC routers, so you need that equipment today to run a woodshop. You mentioned conducting the PD. I just came from the Long Island Technology Education Association meeting. There were 25 openings last year in technology education on Long Island. There are 2 schools that prepare tech teachers, Oswego and Buffalo State. There were 5 teachers that graduated last year with that degree. So finding a technology teacher in today's day and age is extremely difficult. I teach in Huntington. We just had a technology teacher leave for Syosset, where they have 6 teachers at the high school level, 6.4 teachers, for a $20,000 raise. But he left not for the raise, but because it was a better situation there than what we have at our school. So the teachers that we have, I think we need to support them. They're not here for money. If you drive past the school, technology teachers are usually the last people here. We're learning how to use those great machines that you talked about. We're learning how to use new software. The software that you learn changes all the time, so learning Java or C++ or Fortran or COBOL, that's going to change. But the skill set that we learn in technology education classes is what we are trying to accomplish here. So teaching these kids how to solve problems using something similar to the scientific method, but using all those great tools and machines are the skills that we're trying to teach them. So in education, you know about the 4 C's, and all the major CEOs say we need to teach these kids the 4 C's, collaboration and communication and critical thinking, and you probably know the other ones better than I do. What's the other one? Creativity. So you go to any robotics tournament. I coach a FIRST robotics team. I spent last year over 1,000 hours doing it. I got $5,000, by the way. They just added that last year. They gave me an assistant because I couldn't do it any longer by myself because of that woman over there. And they gave my assistant $5,000 a year. I think the guys at the middle school split $500 last year. But these guys, you go to a robotics tournament, you'll see them talking to kids from in my competition in other countries. They come up with strategies, they're collaborating, they're communicating. I had kids talking in Spanish to kids from Mexico, coming up with strategies for the next match that they were going to engage in, and it's truly exciting. I had kids today doing coding in my middle school class. 5 kids ran. I could hear the footsteps. They ran because yesterday I said the first group to get the robot to touch a wall, turn around and come back and hit a piece of tape wins. That's it. I just said you win. And then they just, Mr. Reynolds, come over here. Look, I did it. So it's engaging. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something about robotics that just drives people. And you'll start to see these kids, if you give them resources, they'll go to the elementary schools, they'll do workshops with the younger kids, they'll have the robots at the street fairs in town, and it'll look great for them. It'll be great opportunities, and it'll look great for the school district. I also measured this room while I was standing here, and it looks like it would make a great makerspace with a couple of modifications. So, thank you very much.
There goes the room.
Thank you. Is there anyone? Yes.
So, hi, I'm not a parent for Richmond Road still. So I think that robotics and all these tech classes, they're not just tech, they're not just teaching, this is how you build this is how you work a CNC machine. It's about communication, and I had to, if I had an idea about a robot, I had to convince them, my team, this is the most efficient way to do it. And that in and of itself is a skill to articulate your ideas. And they, of course, had to convince me, which was pretty hard. They know. So yeah, it's now we have this discussion about technology, which is good, and I appreciate everyone being here. And for the people who aren't, they don't know what we want to do just because they haven't been exposed to that when they were growing up. It's everything people have said. It's technology, it's CNC, it's robotics, it's all that. But it's communication, it's it's coming up here and telling you guys what we want to do, what's our vision, what's our plan. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to come forward? Okay, thank you all for your comments. We will be back with you as things develop.
Mark, can I ask a question? Sure. Chris, while you're investigating all this stuff that was brought to light, and John, I guess you too, I was wondering, you talked to Hofstra, correct? Is there any way we can facilitate for not just our club, but maybe for a couple clubs, for Hofstra to do some kind of, I don't know, Saturday or some kind of lecture for, advanced, type of environment for them? It would help the college to recruit some of these young minds, and it would certainly look good on them. But to facilitate that here, I think would be an added benefit. On top of that, I remember going to a conference, and they were showing us how the new technology with the video conferencing, allows students to see people dissecting the human body during a live dissection. Is there any way that we can set up conferences? Or can we do a video conferencing for the clubs, such as the robotics club? I mean, we have Silicon Valley is, I think, probably like 3-hour time difference from us. So like a 4 o'clock for us would be more like a 1 o'clock right after lunch for them. Maybe we can facilitate some type of conference for our club so that they can have more, some more meetings. Because they apparently 2 days a week is not, it's not what they want. They want more, it looks like. But just adding to some of the other things you're going to look into, I think our teleconferencing ability and maybe partnerships with some of our local colleges would help some of the teachers, as well as some of the other requests, such as funding and stuff like that. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question. Have we done anything in relationship with makerspaces?
Makerspace. Short answer is no, particularly that brand, Makerspace. That is something that I actually have a meeting with the Stellar teachers next week from all the elementary buildings, and sent them an article about converting portions of school libraries into little maker spaces, designating areas there. It's something that we're looking at. I know Wilson's PTA actually granted them they have a little mini 3D printer, and they're starting to go in that direction. So that's something the other Stellar teachers are going to look at as well. That was from that was from PTA, but that's something that we can explore.
Okay, I'm somewhat well-versed in makerspace. We had looked into forming a makerspace at my building up in Oyster Bay, and something my daughter is very involved with. So I'd like to be able to discuss
You'll be a
this
resource,
with you,
yeah.
as well as discuss it with you all about makerspace. This may be something that we can do on something to enhance what we want to look to do. Okay, thank you all. Moving on to policies and regulations. The first one is 8280, which is instruction for English language learners. Is there anything that anybody would like to say?
Noreen, why are we changing everything? Why are we rewriting the entire policy?
This policy change really is just catching up with the regulation change. You recall about a little over a year ago, Part 154 of the Commissioner's Regulations made a series of changes to the instruction of English language learners, and this policy reflects those changes. So you might ask why it's been a year and a half since the regulations changed and the policies here. And that's because there was one of the things we anticipated in the regulation was a requirement for districts to submit a comprehensive plan to the New York State Ed Department, which really laid out in great detail the philosophy of educating English language learners and basically what we did in our instructional practice. And that comprehensive plan was not given to districts to do until just recently. In fact, it was submitted less than a week ago. So now we can honestly say what this policy says we did was to submit this comprehensive plan, which was finally made available from the state. So kind of everything's caught up, and now it's really time to make sure we codify what we're actually doing, and what we're doing is reflective of the changes in those regulations.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Nope. Okay. Moving on to 8280R, which is the regulation for instruction for English language learners. Same type of thing.
Yep, same thing.
Good.
Okay.
Moving on. Going to opportunity for superintendent.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things. Just wanted to let you know that we're hoping that in either January or February, the regents, I know this is a big issue with many of the parents here at Southside High School, and it really has to do with the scores for the kids who took the algebra regents in 2015. Why is that an issue? Well, the kids who took it in 2015 were the first wave of kids who took the Common Core exam. The state made a drastic error in the translation of the raw scores to standard scores, and the way in which they admitted that they had done that was in the subsequent administration of a very similar test the following year in 2016. They actually amended the way in which they converted scores, and on average, students statewide, if they were to in fact apply the 16 conversion chart to the 15 raw scores, there would be at least a 6-point increase in the scores. Now that may not seem like much, except that these appear on kids' transcripts. They go off to college with them, and parents, I think, are understandably upset. We have communicated this to the State Education Department, and we are still hopeful that they will reconsider their options, one of which is to take a look at the conversions and in fact provide us with a new conversion table that will allow us to in fact update and bring into what the state now defines as reality the scores for the kids who took it in 2015. So we're still hopeful that that will in fact occur, and we are working with our State Education Department colleagues to put it on as an agenda item for our Board of Regents to consider in January or February. The second thing that I really wanted to just mention is something. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Noreen Leahy, but last year I had an opportunity, and we have an opportunity as a school district, to talk about the Inclusive Schools Week. The person in the school district coordinates our efforts is Noreen Leahy, so if you don't mind, Noreen, just you can take some of my time, please, and,
Sure, not at
and
all.
explain to the public what that's all about.
Thank you very much. So as Dr. Johnson said, the district is midway through the celebration of Inclusive Schools Week. From December 5th, this past Monday, to December 9th, the Rockville Center School District, along with districts across the nation, are celebrating a nationwide celebration of the progress schools have made in providing quality education for all students, and that means students that learn in different ways, and for our increasingly diverse student population. So Inclusive Schools Week is a really great opportunity for students and staff and families to really talk about our differences and to acknowledge the practices that improve the quality of life for students, and just to really recognize and embrace those differences. So our SEP leadership in Rockville Center is very active, and they really helped to come up with some great ideas for Inclusive Schools Week. They teamed up with our building administrators and our facilitators of our Best Buddies programs in both the high school and the middle school, and teachers in the elementary schools to come up with a variety of activities to raise awareness in each of our buildings. For example, just before this meeting, the high school Best Buddies program sponsored a concert by Brittany Mayer. Brittany is an autistic and blind pianist who put on a concert for about an hour and a half here in our auditorium, and I only caught the very tail end of it, but I understand it was really just amazing. If you went to any of our elementary schools this week, you might have seen students learning to sign the Pledge of Allegiance, or in any of our buildings, you might have heard announcements that talked about Inclusive Schools Week. This year's theme was Champions of Inclusion, so I know in some of the schools, the teachers were wearing superhero shirts, just to underscore the importance of working hard for students with disabilities. And those are just a few examples of what we are doing in Inclusive Schools Week. However, what's really worth celebrating, I believe, is the unseen, especially here in Rockville Center. That's the decades of inclusive opportunities the Rockville Center School District has and continues to offer our students. The seamless integration of students with disabilities, which you can't see, is really worth celebrating. It's a natural way of life here, shared expectations, and shared experiences. And that, I believe, is the true meaning of inclusive schools.
Thank you. Okay.
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, opportunity for board members. Let's start right to left. Rick. Call me off guard. You knew it was coming.
I have a lot to say. Wish everybody a happy holiday season. Thank you.
I'll be quick. I wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, a very Merry Christmas, and a happy and healthy New Year.
Your turn.
Okay. I want to thank all of our students for coming out. It means so much to us. And I know you've given your evening and you sat and listened to all of our conversations to get to your conversation, and it really means so much to us that you sat here and that you said what you said, and that even your parents said what you said, but even more importantly, that you were here. So thank you. And I think what you talk about is I think Mr. Pelletier is right. We saw it coming. We're a victim of our own success, and it's a wonderful problem to have, and I look forward to trying to solve it. I also want to congratulate the high school. Once again, they were written up in the Washington Post as a school of opportunity. I wanted to quote what Mr. Murphy said, but my Wi-Fi is not working, so Mr. Pelletier, we'll have to talk about that later. If we could post that article on the website, though, it was really a fabulous article. Happy holidays to everybody. You're up.
Okay. Congratulations to our retirees, some of whom are still here. Happy holidays, of course. Reiterate thank you all for coming. It is important to hear, especially from our students, because they are the benefactors of what we do. This is why we are all up here, and it's great to hear from all of you. And for Inclusive Week, I'm very disappointed we missed the performance this evening because the reaction of everybody who I spoke to afterwards said this was amazing. To the point where we tried to see if we could bring her down here to do a little something for the board meeting, but logistics were not in our favor tonight. So I understood it was videotaped. So can we make sure that gets up on the website so everybody can have an opportunity to see that? And thank you for bringing that to the district. Did I say happy holidays and happy New Year to all?
Certainly happy holidays and a healthy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone. Congratulations to the following people who got inducted into the New York State Soccer Hall of Fame, which includes Crystal Dunn, Coach Bob Bigelow, and Coach Judy Cloutier. So congratulations to them all. Again, thank you to our students. It's the proverbial picture is worth 1,000 words is certainly holds true. And with that, I'll open the microphone to anyone in the audience who has anything that they would like to come speak about. Please step to the microphone. Give us your name and address, please. And you just got here and you come to the microphone.
I was waiting for anyone else that came first. Jeff Greenfield, citizen taxpayer, Yuba Court. The Since 41 shirts motivate me to tell everyone I've been going to school board meetings since 1972. But I'm here tonight because I'm looking for a letter that I understand the school board got from the Teachers Association concerning the continued employment of our superintendent of schools. I didn't see it posted. I wanted to see a copy of the letter. Is there any reason we're suppressing it?
Yes, it deals with a personal matter and is not for the public view.
So we can't discuss it? When is the school board going to talk to the public regarding this decision?
The board will not discuss any contractual, as you know, contractual negotiations that have or have not taken place in regard to this matter.
Okay. I'm not asking you to discuss that, but when are you going to give the public an announcement on a board decision that was taken in executive session?
The board decision was not taken in executive session.
I thought personnel items are executive session.
Yes, but it also, no, it was done at a public meeting on a personal actions report. So that information that you have is incorrect.
So it's in the minutes publicly?
The PAR, it is in the minutes.
In detail?
No.
Okay. So when are we going to learn the detail? And this letter we'll never see?
The question you are asking is what, Jeffrey?
I just wanted to see the letter. I wanted to see the Teachers Association point of view. So since you won't release it, I'll turn to anyone from the Teachers Association, jeffg@nglgroup.com. You can send it to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next subject. I'd like this school board to be an innovator and a leader. It's going to be announced in the next few days. That nice bus is not going to be so nice with all the cutbacks. And they're going to close the garage in Rockville Center. The garage was built with urban mass transit money. One of the last grants former Senator D'Amato gave to the community. And it is set up perfectly with a tremendous gas installation for CNG buses. And I think you've been here long enough to hear me, Mark, talk about the topic of transportation, second only to personnel. That's our second biggest expense. I've never been a fan of no courtesy bus company, and Bauman Bus is better, I understand. But I think we should be an innovator, a leader, and provide our own transportation and engage in a consortium with some other school districts in the area. With the era of 2% tax cap and looking for ways to save money, I think it would be a very good thing for us to join with Oceanside, maybe Baldwin, other districts, look into grant money to get the CNG buses, which are much kinder to the environment, and we should go into the bus business. Many districts are in the bus business. I know over the years, the leadership under Dr. Johnson, we've engaged in the bus business, and our fleet has grown from one as an experiment to many, and I think with good success. And I like to see us again be a leader, an innovator, like we've been in the past, to get together with Oceanside, who uses Bauman buses or whoever else is used, because it continues to bother me when you go out to bid on transportation and there is no bidding. There's a little bidding in special ed transportation, but the territories in Nassau County and Suffolk County are carved up by the vendors. It's not a good free enterprise model. And it's not good for us taxpayers. And as citizen taxpayer, I encourage you to look at this alternative to try to save the taxpayers of this district money, and again, to be a leader and an innovator, to see what grant money is out there, and before this garage turns into Avalon 3, that we should go ahead and keep it as a bus garage and let it be the focal point, the argument why we couldn't go into the bus business in greater detail in the past was because we didn't have room. We didn't have room to house the buses, to store the buses, to repair the buses. The place isn't that old. It's beautiful. And it comes with an ATM machine in front. We can make some money on that, for the employees' benefit. I've been in there. It's a nice facility. And I think, and I would hope and encourage the school board and the administration to look into it. I think it would be something that would be worthy of us pursuing.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you get us a good deal?
What?
Can you get us a good deal?
We'll work on that. I'll talk to the people. In case you didn't notice, Nassau County's broke, so I'm sure you can cut a good deal. They need cash quick. Can you come up with cash quick?
I don't think we're that quick.
Okay. But Nassau County, everything's
We better take
negotiable.
care of them first.
Yeah.
Okay, do that. They look like nice young people.
And then they can design self-driving buses.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to put union workers out of work. Wait a minute. Last but not least, happy, healthy New Year to everybody, to the school board, to the school community, the administration, and all our hardworking teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public coming up? Going 3 times. Okay. Items for action. We can pull these out.
You should be able to do it by acclamation.
Some of them, yeah. Okay, so can I have a motion for the items for action as well as addendum 1?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion?
What is item 1? Hold on.
Addendum 1. The addendum and addendum to the agenda and addendum 1.
No. And the PAR.
And the PAR with the addendum 1.
All right, you want to?
Okay.
Okay.
PAR,
This is the addendum.
the only difference is not addendum 2 of the PAR.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Can I have a motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, now a motion to approve addendum 2 of the PAR.
So moved.
So moved.
And a second.
Second, yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
A second.
Stay adjourned.
Yes, adjourn. All those,
All in favor?
yes, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. A room full of people.
We chased them all out. Somebody left their jacket here. Okay.
Give me back.